What's up, Bearded Banker podcast listeners? You can catch every episode of the Bearded Banker podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and entire episodes on Facebook. This episode features special guest Mayor Brenda Norris of Creston. Brenda is a first-term mayor and talks to us about some hot topic issues in the community and what it was like running for political office in local government. Aaron and I spend the first part of the podcast talking about the top 5 things most mortgage lenders will not tell you. So make sure you give us a like, follow, or a subscribe. And all right, let's go.
It's like Dags. You like Dags? Oh, you mean dogs.
Welcome to the Bearded Banker Podcast that is brought to you by Alcova Mortgage and the Alcova Can-Do Pre-Approval. A pre-approval that guarantees your loan or pays the buyer and the seller of a property if your mortgage pre-approval falls through. Call us at 330-758-7542 to learn more. Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508. Michael Swigert, NMLS ID number 1240868. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval. Now sit back, scroll through Instagram, keep overstimulating yourself, and enjoy your host, Michael Swigert.
Yeah, little under the weather.
Well, that's a shame because it was nice, but now it's really shitty out.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's, yesterday being as warm as it was, nobody called that. Nobody said it was going to be 71 degrees.
Do you think meteorologists should be sued if they get it wrong?
No.
I do.
No, because, well, no. Like,
yes.
Not paying
like
for their service.
Not right away, but like there should be like meteorologists like ratings, like their accuracy. They should be rated.
Okay. Here's probably a hot take. I would love for a meteorologist to join us on the show. I think if you're a meteorologist at a local news station, you just regurgitate the information that the National Weather Service gives you.
Which I hate their app, the Weather Channel app.
Oh, yeah.
It's just nothing but yeah, no, I agree. It's like, no. I mean, I'm sure you went to weatherman school for a long time, and you're knowledgeable of how weather works, but not like predicting weather.
Well, the local meteorologists don't issue warnings, don't issue...
No. They like you said, they repeat information.
Right.
Hey, tornado is on your way.
Right.
Thanks. I need a 8-year degree for that.
Right. Well, that looks bad right there.
Yeah. I see some circulation. Right. So do I.
I don't know. My dad used to watch the news every night. Oh, so I can see the weather. I'm like, your phone tells you.
Even back then?
Yeah, well, and even for us, like you go to Cleveland news. That is not the weather that we're going to get.
This is true.
I mean, even though we're only 40 minutes south, it's just
Yeah, no,
I
it's
wish 40 minutes.
Yeah, weather people. It's I just don't get it.
What about mortgage people?
What about them?
I don't know. You know what?
I think we know more about the weather than weathermen.
I know a freakish amount about the weather.
The only thing I want to know, how does wind work?
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I don't understand how
I'm sure we could chat GPT with an intern. No, but I remember growing up thinking that I needed to know. Like, my dad was so interested in the weather, and we would study this, like, one website called Intellicast, and we would learn about the radar, and we would learn, like, we knew a lot about, like, the NEXRAD radial velocity. Mm-hmm. And I know more about the weather than now as a 34-year-old than the average person, and just because of my father, I thought as the man growing up, I was going to have to know about the weather, and I just...
those are stratus clouds, kids. Get ready,
right? Or it's weird, and I just thought like I'd be. I don't know. I also thought I was going to
be more useful.
I thought I was going to catch on fire more.
Spontaneous combustion.
That's what I'm saying.
Unsolved mysteries. That was always a fear.
Why do we have so like in our minds? Stop, drop, and roll. I mean,
it spreads the flame. It doesn't work.
Well. But what I'm saying is why...
Don't stop.
I mean, I remember, like, being taught that, like, I was going to catch on fire one day. And also, why do I know how to get out of quicksand? Northeast Ohio. Like, why do I care about getting out of quicksand?
Yeah, I thought those dangers would be much more...
I thought more prevalent.
In our lifetime. But yeah, no.
They're just not.
Waste of school resources.
That's what I mean. Or, like, we did, like, tornado drills all the time.
Yeah, and the ones that would, like, get you killed.
Right. Yeah, they're like, duck your... And they were serious about it. I think I remember... Man, well, you went to elementary and middle school with me. Did we have an actual like tornado was coming and we
I
went
can't
outside?
remember one.
For some reason, I thought
can't remember
in my head, maybe it was just not, maybe it was a dream. I don't know.
And besides, and now it's like, okay, I'm sorry, like tornadoes. The one thing you should do, if you're in a brick fort like an elementary school, get away from the windows. That's it.
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean-
need to get to the lowest part. A tornado's not going to blow the building down.
Well, right. I think it's the roof. So you don't normally like they tell you to get to your basement because, well, obviously, yeah, your house could be blown away.
Yeah.
But I feel like more people die from the shit falling on them. Which
Yeah.
so like I like
If Twisters has taught us anything,
well, yeah, no, which is a documentary.
It
But
is.
I just remember like we should have been under the stairs. We would just go down in our basement and watch TV until the power went out.
yeah.
Which I feel like there was more severe storms when I was younger. Like, I remember always going downstairs. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I just remember always going downstairs. But
Yeah.
anyway,
But it's-
enough about tornadoes. I want to see a
getting
tornado.
Really?
I want to chase tornadoes, dude. That sounds fun.
That'd be fun.
Literally, like anytime there's a tornado warning, I'm the dude outside. Hey, all right, there it is.
Oh yeah, garage doors open.
Oh yeah,
Pissing in the rain.
I'm gonna get electrocuted first before.
That's a fear of mine. If you get struck by lightning.
Yeah, that's a real. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was down last time. One of the last times I went down to Florida, was in the pool. Storm comes in, it's blowing, it's raining, lightning, thunder. My brother and his wife are in the pool with me. Yeah, this is fun, isn't it? I'm like, we're in a pool. Are you guys
Get
used
out.
to this? It's like,
No,
I'm concerned.
the people in Florida when there's lightning, they're like out.
Yeah.
Get it. It's
No, they were in. They
Yeah,
were
no. Everybody in Florida, all my family down there, it's like lightning off the beach. Get out. We got to go.
Yeah.
right. Like, and because everybody else, like all the Midwesterners, are like, whoa, that was close. That was a close one. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, we had Mayor Norris. Brenda Norris on. That was a longer interview than normal. I was well behaved.
Were you?
I feel like I was.
Yeah, no,
I
you.
was well behaved. I tried to ask a couple of my pain points, but I'm not going to be mean to our guests unless they're entitled. That's what we always say.
No, you. No, her answers were valid, I think, and her answers were what you wanted to hear, and so it was good to, like you said, she's a very, very good functioning mayor. And
battery. Please charge.
whoa, thanks, intern.
Wow.
Is it going to keep on doing that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
right? I mean,
Well, but she's a very well-rounded mayor who has a plan. Like you said, she has a good plans, and she cares.
yeah. That's what I picked up from it, that she
Yep.
cares. Yeah. So stick around for that if you're interested in some small town drama. Also, no, it's just like I said in that, we shouldn't really give a shit who the president is. You should care more about your local elections.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to affect your life more than anything else will. So
Battery.
Yep.
Please charge.
All right.
I
I'm
guess
going
we're
to
going
have
to
to
turn that off. We're going to have to turn that off. But Aaron's going to, we're not going to stop. We're going to just keep going. Unreal. There's nobody else in the office.
Nope. All right, here we go. It's my time to shine.
This is your time to shine.
Oh, my fly's down.
I mean, take us into it, Aaron. Those are our speakers that I bought from Meyer.
Yeah.
Those are sweet, though. And now that I got them working, I had to call the help desk to get them to work, and that was painful. But anyway, all right, now we're live. So what we want to get into today, we're going to talk about something a little controversial. We're going to talk about some things that maybe mortgage lenders aren't exactly truthful with, or maybe not truthful, but
They're hesitant to bring up. It's like they won't tell you on their own.
let's
You
just
have
say
to ask.
99% of lenders won't tell you.
Yes.
So that's we wanted to come up with separate lists from each other.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good one. So I think we got 5 things that mortgage lenders will not tell you, or 99% of mortgage lenders
Yeah,
will not
yeah.
tell you. And why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Well, yeah. So this happened to me as a home buyer because I bought my first home before I ever got into mortgage lending, and I was blindsided. So just a little backstory: whenever whenever I'm helping buyers now, especially first-time home buyers, I make sure I have a mental checklist to tell them and educate them on things that I wish I would have known when I was a first-time home buyer. The escrows is one of them. I had no idea what escrows were until probably year 3 or 4 of my home ownership. And then there was another one on that list. So your mortgage can be sold at some point during the life of its loan, but during its life. So if you're one servicer, you're one bank, your loan officer, your lender, that most likely is not going to be who is servicing your loan in right after closing, 3 months, 6 months, 3 years. It can be sold at any point.
Yeah, and this is a question we always get. And whether you go to a big bank or any mortgage lender and they're like, oh, no, we're going to keep your mortgage. We're going to service it right here. They're lying.
Yeah.
Because you can have, I mean, I've heard stories of auditors coming in and taking a look at a portfolio of a lender's or a servicer's book of business and saying, yeah, we need you to sell this one out. We need you to sell this one out. So in 2007, 2008, they were selling your mortgage out a lot because they were going out of business. So simple as that. So yes, if they're telling you we will never sell your loan, that's a lie. There's a chance, even if it's a 1% chance, there's a chance that they could absolutely sell your mortgage.
I describe it as your mortgage is a product like anything else, like a car. A car can have multiple owners throughout its life. So, I always give them a heads up on that. But I always tell them, I'm your guy. Any questions, still can ask me.
Yeah, ask me, not your servicer. All right, mine is 20% down is not going to get you the best rate.
Yeah. That's like the old, I want to say like 10, 20 years ago mentality, the Dave Ramsey, put 20% down, don't be stupid.
Right, and the reason is because if you foreclose within the first 2 years, the bank might actually lose money on the transaction, but at 15% down, you have PMI, which is the bank can cash in on that private mortgage insurance policy, or at 25% down, that's when you start to see the massive break in interest rate. Not massive, but you start to see a break in interest rate. So 20% down may not get you the best rate.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Okay, well, next one. Let's see. Lenders, banks, are not transparent enough when it comes to your closing costs.
Right.
A number one pain point, and a lot for first-time home buyers or for anybody, is the affordability initially, the initial payments. So they were thinking, down payment, I can't afford 20%, I can't afford 10%. But then instead of correcting them, or not correcting them, but educating them, lenders are not going to say, yeah, that's a hard point. They're going to say, that's a hard, you want 10% down, you want 5% down. They don't even mention their closing costs until they already get them in their hooks.
Right.
So there's closing costs, and not just the lender associated fees. That's what closing costs technically are.
Correct.
Lending associated fees. That doesn't give them the whole picture. So, and I've complained about this previously, so I won't rant too much about it. But you ask a lender, what are your closing costs? They're going to say, $3,000-$4,000. Boom, that's it. And then they come to the closing table. There's so much more into it than that. But the lender answered their question. But that's not what they were asking, and the lender knows it.
Yeah.
The lender knows that's not what they were asking, but they still answered it the wrong way.
We've harped on that a lot, so we won't keep going on that. But yeah, it's literally just lender associated fees. You have their title company, homeowners insurance, transfer taxes, depending on what state you're in. Yeah, there's a whole bunch in there.
Yeah,
So.
but that's one thing they'll lie.
I'm going to say that's another thing lenders going to lie about is there's no such thing as free money. Very rarely. So we had that one grant program that everybody got mad at us for because it dried up in about an hour. That was actually legit kind of free money, kind of not, but kind of free money. But any sort of down payment assistance program, there is a little caveat there. You gotta make sure you ask. I know
Read the
fine
print.
I know the one that people ask me about a lot that we offer. I won't say a name or anything like that, but it's a down payment assistance program, and you pay that back over the course of the first 7 years.
Yes.
So if you go to sell your home, we've had plenty of clients, and I've talked about that story. I've told that to a lot of people. Down payment assistance programs, and you go to sell your home within the next year, not pretty.
Yeah.
Not pretty.
Yeah.
So make sure you understand there is no such thing as free money when it comes to getting a mortgage.
Yes.
So I'll go now. Locking your rate in early may cost you more than what you know or what you think.
Yeah.
So when you lock in an interest rate, you are telling Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, an aggregator, you're telling them you're about to deliver said mortgage. And if they have to wait, especially now, for 60 days, I'm going to lock your rate in. It's good for 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, whatever you're locking it in, you're paying for that.
Yeah, that's not really
in
explained.
the rate. You're paying for it in your points and fees, whatever it may be. The sweet spot that we always say for us at Alcova, I like 28 days. 28-day rate lock tends to not cost you any extra money. That is the sweet spot. But if you're locking this in at pre-approval, or if you hear a lender saying, you can lock your rate in while you shop, it's costing you money.
Right. Well, that's, and we talked about this earlier today of, not only the cost of locking it, but the unforeseen fluidity of rates themselves. They change multiple times a day.
Oh, yeah.
If something's on the horizon, that may be beneficial or detrimental, no one has a crystal ball.
Right. So right now with the uncertainty, they're going to absolutely make you pay.
Yes.
for that.
Yep. No, good. And then speaking of rates, here's my next one is just buying it down in general. It doesn't always make sense, but it's that I think it's like a dog and pony show that da 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 da, and so
paying points to buy down your interest rate.
Yes, yeah. Paying extra to go from a 7 to a 6.85, saving you $10 a month on your monthly payment, if that, and then. But the cost, so that over the course of a year saves you $120, but it costs you $2,000 to do that. There's not even close to your break-even point there.
Right, and that's what we do that with buyers
when it makes sense.
Like, look at it, the numbers. Hey, it's saving you $7 a month on your interest, but that $84 for the year, and then for it takes you 3 years to make $248 or $250 in savings, whatever the math is on that. Somebody's going to correct me, but it costs you $1,500 to do that. To buy the points. Is that really in your best interest? Some institutions make a little extra money that way. Some do. I'm not naming names.
Well, there's a common theme, and we'll probably explore this more going forward. But it's like a lot of lenders now. They're not lenders. They're salesmen. They're transactional. They're salesmen, and so they portray like a buy down rate as something exclusively to them. Yeah. It's like, oh, only we can offer this. And then someone not knowing any better, or someone swamped in by it, they'll come to us for a second opinion, and they'll be like, "Hey, could you guys do buy downs?" And we'll be like, "Yeah, but it depends." So we try to do that, the education wisdom, but they're already like, they can do it. I'm going to go with them. Yeah. And then then it's too late.
Which that kind of segues into my next one. Is that interest rate isn't everything.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if somebody's offering a perfect example. If you're so conscious about your interest rate, and I can't wait for people to be like, okay, well, did you look at your PMI? Did you look at your closing costs that we talked about? Mm-hmm. So, for example, I had a client sent me a competitor's loan estimate, and I looked at it, and I said, okay, I can get you the same interest rate and same payment and everything, and your closing costs go down by, I'm not making this number up, by $8,000, or I could keep your closing costs the same. Here's my example. I could buy out your PMI so you don't have a monthly PMI, and we could pay some points down. And oh, by the way, your payment just dropped. It was like $200 and some odd. Yeah. So if that person was just worried about the interest rate and didn't ask questions, and luckily, their real estate agent referred them over to me just to take a look at something that seemed off. If they were just worried about the interest rate, well, that lender gave them the rate they wanted. Mm-hmm. But look how much money they were spending to get it. So it's not just everything. Yep.
It's going to cost. Yeah, it's going to cost unless you have, get that opinion from more local lenders.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. They were local,
like us.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your next one?
Okay. This is all common theme, and going by that same mindset is that a mortgage program. All the mortgage programs that they have available that you qualify for, so that you send them the information to get you pre-approved. They'll say, "Oh, you're good for a conventional." Boom, and that's it. Yeah. They don't give you they don't educate you on, hey, you also qualify for FHA, USDA. You also qualify for these programs, but here's why I'm going conventional. Yeah. It's like, so here's, or on the reverse reason, here's why FHA is best. After our conversations, your pain point is upfront fees, or on the reverse side, monthly payment. Those are your pain points. So maybe FHA works better for you. Yeah. They don't give you they tell you what they think will work best.
Which is funny because my next one is utilizing a conventional loan may not be the best for you, and it may be costing you more. Mm-hmm. Not all. First of all, you're right. Transactional. They just try to stick you in a conventional loan because it's synonymous with this is better for us and it's cheaper. There's a certain threshold. I'm not going to say it on the air because then we have to disclose a bunch of stuff. But there's a certain threshold at that point. FHA is going to be cheaper for you as a consumer, and showing you that option. And also, number two, there's different types of conventional loans that you may qualify for. Look at your income. Did you qualify for Home Ready? Mm-hmm. You would be just absolutely just. It was alarming to me how many loan officers did not know that the a Home Ready or Home Possible program existed, which is a certain income. Your loan officer should tell you. If not, we will tell you if you qualify for that, which comes at a reduced rate. But it's the biggest, and that's the problem we've had the past 2 years, 3 years, is everybody's just trying to squeeze you in a conventional loan. It may not be the cheapest option for you. Right. So if your real estate agent and your lender are just trying to push you into a conventional loan, because they want to get an offer accepted. Well, first of all, that's a red flag that it's transactional. Second of all, they're not looking out for, what is it, your fiduciary duty. Like, no, let's get you in a loan program that is best for you, the cheapest, get you the lowest rate, get you everything.
Which is, I mean, again, I don't want to go on a rant here, and I don't want to piss any agents off, but it's that same thing. It's like all agents have had the buyer's side of someone pre-approved with FHA that maybe they wish would go conventional. On the other end of the coin, I'm sure they've had a listing where they're a little bit hesitant to accept an FHA offer.
Right.
Why?
Because of bad lenders.
No, exactly.
Right.
My point. But it's like, but I think hopefully, I mean, we're doing our job in our local area and branching out to educate them on, yes, if a pain point for you as a listing agent is an FHA appraisal, there's not that far off from conventional appraisals.
Right. I just did my CE about it last week, showing the difference between VA and conventional, and why are they not? That's not that much different, right?
So I'm going to put a challenge out there, agents or anybody, appraisers even. If you have a pain point about FHA appraisals of getting FHA offers accepted, reach out.
Yeah.
Tell us why. Because
it sounds like it maybe is your lender selling it better to the listing agent.
Yeah.
Right. Are they explaining how qualified your buyer is? I'll be honest with you, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I'd take a 680, 3.5% down FHA borrower over a 720, 5% down conventional every single day, because again, I'm getting a little specific, but at the FHA, they pride themselves on common sense underwriting. And if you're a good lender, you will understand that FHA gives you more flexibility when it comes to pricing, gives you more flexibility to lower that rate. And also their underwriting guidelines are just more flexible. But I know it's going to sound bad, like, oh, I'm picking one or the other. No, what I'm saying is that at that point, the 680 FHA is probably going to have a lower payment will have a lower payment if they went conventional on that scenario. Now, if they're putting down 20%, 25%, okay, things change, right? But at the minimum down payment, that max loan to value, no, it's make sure you trust your lender that they did their job and they put them in the right loan program, because just squeezing them in conventional may not be the best thing for them.
Yep.
So,
boom.
Oh, you got any more? I mean, I have a whole bunch.
Yeah, no, I got a whole bunch, but the biggest one is just overall communication. I'll end with this one. The biggest, that's just overall communication about the mortgage process itself, from pre-approval to getting in clear close. What do those terms mean? Yeah. What stages of the process are you at? Because again, we've talked about this. Some you pre-approved, give me a purchase contract. Okay, good. Or even worse, I think, is they get you pre-approved and then you never hear from them. And what's worse is you hear from someone else every single time you reach out to them.
Yeah.
Every step there's somebody else.
We all know those lenders that seem to have somebody different at every step of the way.
Yep.
And understanding what a pre-approval is. I know we've said that before, and that was one of our better performing reels, was like, pre-approval is just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So make sure your lender is doing their job to make sure at the pre-approval process, it does not mean approval. It does not mean you're good to go in understanding and educating. So that's good. So what we need to do one time, I feel like this would be a good live for us. Did this class one time with real estate agents, and I called it mortgage unscripted or unfiltered.
Okay, yeah.
So I literally, it was just a group of like 8 to 10 agents, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to swear. I'm just going to be my normal self. I'm going to tell you everything that a lender has lied to you about. And that's all we did was talk about what lenders lie to you about, or maybe not. Well, we not want to say lie. Maybe didn't tell you the truth about. Well, that might be
withholding the truth is the same as lying.
You can't handle the truth. All right, well that's good. Let's get to Brenda, Mayor Brenda Norris.
I'm excited about this one.
We tried to keep it a little shorter because we did talk with her a little bit longer than our normal guests, but it is a little centered towards where we live. But I feel like it's good to, if you live in a small town, even if you live in a big town, I feel like it's good to hear from the perspective of most mayors. This is not their full-time gig.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? Unless you're the city of Cleveland or, you're a large city. They are us. She is us. She lives in our community. She has a full-time job, and she hates all the same stuff that we hate. And, her pain points are the same. But at the same time, we have a village to run and all that fun stuff. So.
Oh, yeah. I think she's, for the record, She's doing very, very well, very good things for the village.
Aaron's on village council, so you guys will see that here in a second. So he's technically her boss, kind of.
So are you.
Yeah, that's right.
We're voters.
Get out of the office.
Oh my God.
All right, let's get.
I appreciate the invitation. I was wondering when it would happen.
Really? You really wanted to come on here?
Wow.
I was like, wow, everybody gets interviewed but me.
Oh, I see.
We're gonna blame that on Aaron.
Yeah,
Actually, we'll blame that on
my
Aaron.
fault. Limiting the public exposure as much as possible. I'm protecting your interest.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. See.
Yeah,
Shielding.
You got to go through me before you can get to her.
Exactly.
Wow, Her Excellency, actually.
Yeah.
So Brenda Norris, the mayor of the village of Creston, which people don't understand what a village is. So try to tell everybody we have 3 villages in our school district, and it makes us sound kind of tribal, though. Like they're always like, "What's that? What do you got?"
Clans.
Clans. We have different clans. Different. Oh, not the North Siders. I do always say. So, have you lived in Creston? How long have you lived in Creston?
Since 2012.
Yeah, she's not a Christian.
I'm a transplant,
Yeah,
as some might say.
She's not old Creston.
Yeah.
She's not from that old Creston money.
God
but I
forbid.
did, I did graduate from Cloverleaf, if I'm allowed to say that.
Okay.
Man.
So I'm from the area.
We didn't do
Yeah,
our research.
allegedly.
here.
Yeah,
Yep.
no.
Yep.
We're gonna intern. That's the last time we let the intern pick the guest. Yeah, well, I think it's funny because I lived in Sterling, born in Sterling, moved to Creston, bought my first house in Creston. Now work in Burbank.
Yeah.
So I got the trifecta. Now you know what? Do you think I'm like the first Norwayne
No.
graduate to do that?
No.
You've lived in Creston all your life.
Yeah.
I lived in Sterling.
I know,
I
but
live in Creston.
just judging by the
and
people.
I work in Burbank.
Oh, working in Burbank?
That's what I'm saying.
Adding
I
that
lived in Sterling. I lived in Creston, and I went to Burbank.
It
All right, I
could
work
be.
in Burbank.
It could be because how many places are there to work in
This is
Burbank?
true.
Thank you.
I was thinking you were going to say lived in Sterling and moved to Creston. Now, that happens all the time.
Yeah,
But working in Burbank, the trifecta, I didn't realize that was a thing to strive for.
now that I said it out loud, I kind of wanted to do it. Right? Like that's kind of awesome.
You're the next Rory.
That's the Rory. Like McElroy. Please, let's get that. Would be awesome.
Don't get
Thank you. I think. Like wow.
We're just coming off of that, so I was
No,
like,
she's trying to get on my good side, so I don't
Yeah.
yell too much later.
That's
I'm
right.
good, Whatever.
Did you always? I don't think I've ever asked you this before though, because we know each other. I'm on the council as well, so it's like, did you always have like political aspirations in Cloverleaf? And when you just came to Creston, you're like, okay, I got to get involved.
No, absolutely not. Actually, in 2020, I saw that there was a vacancy on council.
Mm-hmm.
And I was acquaintances with John Hall, the former mayor. And it came up in conversation one time. And so I just put in my letter, and that's...
You voted John?
Yeah, that
Yeah?
was the start of it. Yep.
Yeah, because I voted for you. I did say that
Thank you.
before,
Now
so.
he's trying to get on my good side.
You earned my vote. Right? When did you what was the moment you decided I want to run for mayor? Because you said, okay, so there was an open seat on council, and you did not run for council, or you were on council?
She was on council.
I was
on
appointed
council.
to council.
Okay.
For you were on there for 2 years, right? Before mayor?
3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
Yep. And then there were, I think, like any good politician, there was a sequence of events that inspired me to want to make a change. And that's what started the mayor portion of it, of getting into more the management and operation of the village. A lot of people don't know how local government works, and so I always like to say, Aaron and the councilmen, they hold the wallet and they make the laws. And so I'm more the manager of the day-to-day, managing the employees, making sure that things are getting done that they decide.
Good way to put it.
So it's a little bit of checks and balances, but also I always say we shouldn't care. This is a little off topic, but we shouldn't care as much who the president of the United States is.
Correct.
We should care about our local elections. I mean, you should care who your state representative is. You should care who's on your village council. I mean, come on, right? But you should.
You're welcome.
And also even the mayor. No
Right.
offense, you're sitting here, but we shouldn't care as much about who we're voting in as mayor. We want to look at them as like a manager, as somebody who's going to work well with council, and that's one thing. Erin has a saying every time I touch him. It's from Happy Gilmore. So whenever
yes.
she touches Shooter McGavin, he like looks down. So he never misses, by the way. Like he could be no sleep, 3 days running, tired, miserable, and I just
I don't like to be touched by Michael.
He comes out. Anyway, so I always say you should want somebody that is going to work with counsel, not against, not an ego person, not somebody who thinks there's no executive orders that you can come in. There might be something you can initiate as mayor. I have no idea, but it's not like you're coming in and ruling the village of Creston.
Right.
And that's what I've told Aaron that too. I appreciate how much you guys interact and how much the conversation goes outside of just council meetings or committee meetings. It's making sure that we can work together to better our village. Because we talked about I went on this rant a couple months ago, sometime last year, one of the episodes about how like I've lived here all my life, 34 years old, have a mortgage branch here, like I work here, live here, born here, all that stuff, and I'm sick of like this mediocre feeling, or this like mediocrity is okay, and especially in our village where it's like we don't strive to be better, we strive to just make it to tomorrow, and I felt like that even when I was in high school. I felt like that, at a certain point, it's just like, get out of here and go work or, like I was in a culture shock when I went to college. Yeah. So I just always feel like that we have this sense of mediocrity. And with you, I don't feel that, which is,
good. Thanks.
Just talking with Aaron and seeing and, it's because you've been now, you were
year 2.
Year 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Seems a lot longer.
It does.
And you've been, so this is one thing too, and we'll talk about this.
I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah, we'll talk about this, but you were dealt some shitty hands. You've been playing.
Unexpected.
You ever play euchre? Like my grandpa's a big euchre player. And you play
I actually
euchre?
don't know how.
Okay, all right. Well, so my grandpa loves to play euchre, and I hate it because all you do is just get shitty hands. Like you're like, this isn't even fun. Like I can't even like try to win. So I feel like the first 2 years, you're getting dealt a lot of 9s and 10s as a euchre player. Which is not good, by the way. Mm-hmm. And you're coming out smelling like roses. I think I think we're in the right direction. So before we go down that road,
yes,
tell us what it's like to run for mayor in a village and or small city. What was the process like?
Oof.
Because I'm sure it wasn't what you expected, right?
It was exhausting. In my mind, I'm thinking, all right, 22-ish, 100 people. This isn't a big city. Very manageable. My goal was I wanted to talk to every single person in person. So I knocked on everybody's door.
I didn't let you in.
And I wish I would have known where you lived at the time.
I'm the house with the naked boys. That's what I'm known as.
That's funny.
6 and a 4-year-old. They're always peeing off the front porch. So
okay.
Tell the cops. Sorry.
Okay.
Better than in the house, right? Okay.
So, but that's interesting too. That right there is a bunch of stories knocking on people's doors. You want to get out of your comfort zone, go door to door and try and talk to people. So that was interesting. And I just said, you know what? I want to earn people's vote based on who I am, and I'm not a politician. I'm just me. I'm very. Some people would describe me as too emotional, but I do feel, I'm very passionate about things, and I think that if you want things to change, you have to be. That doesn't mean that I don't look at things logically, but I do. Things affect me. They do. Yeah. And so during that time of campaign, I never really, this sounds very conceited what I'm about to say, I never really cared that much what people thought about me. And now that all of a sudden I do have to care what people think about me. And psychologically, it was exhausting. Yeah. It was. Because I'm thinking this is very personal. If they don't like me, I'm putting myself out there just as I am. And if they don't like me and they don't want to vote for me, what does that say?
I would not be able to do this because the product is you.
Right.
Yeah. So if you don't like my product, which is me,
right.
Similar in our business, and that's something actually like currently right now that I'm transitioning. And I think this is why I'm starting to see progress in my business is like moving on. I care what people think about me way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much, right? And it is because our brand is like, they're not getting a mortgage. Yes, they're getting a mortgage from Alcova Mortgage, but they're getting a mortgage from me.
Right.
And I hate it. Yeah, that was tough for me. So I can't, it's interesting that you used to not care, but how do you not? Your brand is you.
Right.
But also at the same time, people just like to bitch.
Yes, they do.
You're never going to be able to please everybody.
And then you get those different levels of residents, I'm sure. People that didn't care, people that rushed you off their property, people that talked to you for 2 hours about the issues and everything like that. I didn't campaign just for the council position. I didn't campaign like that, but I did have to go get signatures. And just one of the things that happened is I went to one of my neighbors, like maybe 2 or 3 doors down, introduced myself again. I knew who he was, but I'm like, hey, I want to run for council. He goes, I'm not going to sign that yet. Let me ask around about you. I'm like, okay, sure. So I, left, and he reached out maybe 3-4 days later, says he's ready to sign it. I'm like, okay, who did you ask?
Right.
What lies did they tell you? And
My mom doesn't live in the village.
yeah, it's like, so yeah, who are you going to ask? It's like, I wanted to be involved, but I was not involved yet. So no one knew me. So I'm like asking, like, who's he talking to?
Right.
So
Why didn't you ask him?
I was scared.
Yeah.
What would you change about when you ran, like during the campaign? What would you change?
Gosh.
Or like any advice you could give to
Yeah.
somebody else looking at running for any sort of.
I would say, and this is a conversation I've had with several people. So my opponent was well known, and as I said, I'm a transplant, and so haven't been there as long. Everybody knows who he is, and so I think I definitely let that get to me. And I think that if you believe in what you're doing and, you feel like you're doing things for the right reason, that you got to just let the chips fall, and you can't worry about that stuff. In the moment, would I have taken that advice? No.
We never. Shut up, Brenda. Even if it was you in the future coming back, I would be the same way. But
Right.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
But I think that's the only way you can do it. If you're doing things for the right reasons, and you're being yourself, I mean, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter, what's going on the other side.
It's good advice. But yeah, you wouldn't listen to your own advice, would you? Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, and what's funny is like people are going to hear this, like, because we're a nationwide podcast now. We've was it 30-some states so far on Spotify.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag, but in Canada, which I'm like, they accidentally fell on that one. That was a little
The
weird.
good ones.
I think it's the beards.
It might be, maybe, maybe show up in the algorithm, but no, now I'm only thinking about beards in Canada. Unreal. Yeah, but okay. Anyway, sorry. The village of Creston shares a park with where you used to live, right? So it's not like you're a transplant, like you're right next door to
Geographical area.
Geographically,
Right.
yes. I guess, yes, you are correct. You didn't live in the 44217, but
Right.
we should get a tattoo. Cross.
Right.
7 is 1, 2, Creston.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
On the knuckles, right? Yeah. I'll do that when we get a pizza place. So when I can get pizza delivered to my house, that's what I'll do it. So it's not even like you're a transplant, but that's interesting. It is it's exhausting. It was expensive, I'm sure.
It was expensive. I had a lot of good supporters in that way, and also that worked my campaign. So I was serious about it because I thought if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very interesting. I'll tell you, everything I know going through it, I don't know that I would do it again.
Yeah, that's
Well, don't say
interesting.
that.
That's
No,
interesting.
I'm not saying running for re-election. That's a little bit different because people have already,
Yeah,
get to
you're
know you.
established.
But man, yeah.
And they see the body of work, yeah.
So there was, in this digital age, there's like so much like social media. What social media struggles did you go through when campaigning?
when campaigning. Oof.
Because we'll talk about the social media struggles. 'Cause
Yeah.
we'll bring those up here in a second.
And they're going to be very similar.
Yeah.
And I think the number one thing is misinformation. People will take the smallest thing that they hear, not verify it, and then spread it like wildfire.
Run with it.
And I think that's the biggest problem.
Which is, okay, so Facebook has become town hall. That's all it is, right? And if you think of Facebook any differently, you're thinking of Facebook wrong. I'm not saying all social media is like that, but Facebook is the new town hall.
Anybody hear that loud noise?
right? And we go on there to bitch. We go
I
on
just
there
heard
to
a
complain.
gunshot.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody else hear
No,
that?
you didn't. It's just a backfire. Come on. We don't have e-check. So, but that's all it is town hall. And they go there to voice their opinion, or yes, you're right, there might be misinformation, like the one thing, the baseball fields, which we will talk about, but the misinformation out there. The nice part about that is Village Hall used to be the Moose, or used to be committee meeting, or not chamber meetings,
Committee meetings.
okay,
Council
committee-
meetings.
council meetings,
Yeah.
right? That was town hall, and the problem with that is misinformation is told to Aaron, and then Aaron plays game of telephone, and the misinformation.
I knew it was his fault.
It's always his fault.
It is.
But there's no receipts.
The anonymous posts are mine.
Feel like we need that. Yeah, okay. But you don't have receipts. Like you don't have so if I'm on the Facebook group and I post some misinformation, or like that one post about the softball fields, guess what? There's the receipts of all the misinformation from people with their names in the comments that are looking like idiots, and then you go on and make a video saying, no, this is actually what it is. So it gives, yes, I agree with you that anybody can post anything, but I'd rather have that, and I can look through, because then now, it's so funny, me as an outsider, I'm like, oh shit, what's up with I already knew what the baseball fields was, but I'm like, what's up with the baseball fields? Oh my gosh, I'm reading through, I'm like, how dare the Village? And then you're like, hello, this is all we asked for. It's not that big of a deal. And then now all the comments with their pictures of their families and their kids, and now they look like idiots. And the receipts are on the town hall to show that, yeah, you were spreading misinformation. So then you lose credibility. Hopefully, some people are like, oh, that person was not right whatsoever.
No, that's never happened.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
on some people,
Not so far.
on some people, like myself, maybe
Right.
that sees
Just
it. and
reading
you're
it,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, but that's no one's ever going to fact check someone that was wrong.
No.
They're going to fact check Brenda and other officials. They're supposed to know what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
but then now there's names, and I know we're not going to say them, but we know the names that if I said that person's name right now, they have zero credibility about any post that they put on that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that's what I mean. Instead of being told through, word of mouth, now we have receipts. Now people can, in front of us at town hall meetings every single
Right.
day.
We have the
on
minutes.
Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a town hall meeting every day now, and we get to see the Village idiots. Right? I mean, we should start making T-shirts. I'll make them, and we'll just send them out through anonymously
Right.
to the Village idiots.
Well, and it's just, it's logic. I mean, let's look at this law. I mean, I'm kind of segueing into the baseball, but man, I mean, does it sound like we're trying to run the baseball team out? Maybe based on the information you
what
heard, yes.
It's roped off. Our kids can't play.
Now
They're going to moat around the baseball field.
you
I'm a taxpayer.
right. Take one look at the park, you'll see they're not roped off, they're not blocked off. People are using them. So just the logic, I would just say the logic's missing there. And I'm a big believer of trust but verify. And, you hear something, I don't know. For me, I would never just hear something and post about it on Facebook,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Because these people have literally nothing better to do.
yeah, right. Emotion is a big thing. And I have family members that are going to listen to this. I'm calling them out right now, and they know who they are, and she's going to probably yell at me for it. But it's like, instead of posting, and I don't know how many times we talked about this off there before the show, and I literally said, I typed up a response, and I waited 5 minutes, and I came back and I was like, no. That's not, no. And then you came out with the video. It was perfect. I'll be honest with you, it was way too long. I didn't listen to it, but.
Yeah, I did give
You
that
did say it was gonna
caveat,
be
I
long,
believe,
yeah.
yes.
Yes, and I also, so I listened, and I'm like, yep, no, okay, this is exactly what, we talked about. And so it's, and also inviting people to council meetings, maybe you would understand, or maybe reading the minutes, right? Or
Yeah.
Well, I think I told you this too. The interesting thing about when all that shit hit the fan, we had a decent sized turnout for the next council meeting. Not one public comment was about the baseball field.
Yeah.
Not
absolutely.
one person
Yeah,
mentioned anything.
no, because it's worse. And I think this is totally off topic, but during 2020, during the shutdown, I noticed a complete shift in consumers and just people in general, because I've constantly worked. I mean, I would literally work till 2 a.m, wake up at 7 a.m, keep writing loans because it was so busy. And people, I don't know if it was just because they were at home and they had nothing else to do. People like used to be reasonable with time frames and your personal boundaries. And then all of a sudden it's like this shift of like, I have this phone in front of me and I could just I'm getting text messages, phone calls 11:30 at night, 7 a.m. Like, respect me as a human being, number one. So I feel like now it's like we see something and we just jump on it. And I don't know if it's from COVID. I don't know if it's just the information age. I don't know if I have no idea what it is, but it just didn't used to be like that. And now
agree.
it's like we just jump right in emotionally without fact checking anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a simple, and I do appreciate it when you see it and like somebody will tag you, right? And like, hey, well, and you respond. And it's like, it's not hold your horses a little bit, but that's not fun to do.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
We want to be emotional. We want to be
Right.
Yeah, that's way better. So let's talk about the baseball situation.
Sure.
'Cause, we want to get the word out because I'm sure there's people that didn't watch your video because they don't care. They're just like, rah! So
And those people that didn't watch the video are definitely going to watch this podcast.
right, yeah. Well, because we're gonna post clips. I'm gonna tag them. Right, we're gonna tag them. Make sure they read it. So it's not too crazy to think that the village has exposure, liability wise. If something happens, this is very simple. If something happens and the village is on the hook for it, guess what? We have to pay out.
Well,
we get sued. There's exposure, and then guess what happens to the fields, right? So it's not.
Well, take us back chronologically. Chronologically, when did you first get wind that there was an issue with the fields, or like when did it happen? Not it happened, but you know what I mean. When did all this start coming up?
So, it was end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. I can't really remember that part, but a rep from our insurance company came out, walked our properties with our village administrator, and basically flagged all the things he thought we were at risk for.
Can I stop you right there?
Sure.
If I'm a taxpayer in the city, that happens to me as well. You have people, your insurance company drives by and you don't even know, and they assess the risk associated to your policy. Carry on.
Yeah.
Well, does that now? Maybe I should know this because I'm on the insurance committee. Does that happen annually? Like, how often do these insurance companies?
I don't
do that?
think it happens. Maybe it's supposed to happen annually,
No,
but since I've been on council, it's the first one I'm aware of.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so it's when they go to re-underwrite any policy. So insurance companies actually spoke at this conference like a couple weeks ago where I talked about banking. It's very similar to insurance where they hate one word and one word only, and it's risk. Like freak out at the word risk. So that's why you probably noticed that maybe somebody but whatever they are, an underwriter hasn't gone out and looked, and so it might be 4 or 5 years. It's different for especially if you file a claim.
Well, this is just
as soon as you get on the radar.
This is just important to note because again, somebody may ask, "Well, how come they didn't pick it up last year?"
Yeah.
So that's why
Got it.
it's not every year.
Okay, so we had read it. So all right, so
Yes.
insurance guy comes out and says we got an issue.
Yeah, he was, asking, well, what are these used for? What are these outbuildings used for? So essentially, he gives the list over, and he says, if you don't have a lease agreement in place, you're at risk. So that went into a conversation with our law director, and our law director was like, "What? You don't have a lease agreement?" So he was new in 2023. So he's kind of, he and I have been looking at, operations and procedures closer to kind of get things on track that way. Things that, hey, we've always done it this way. Yeah, but is it the right way? Kind of stuff. So when I told him that, and he's like, "You guys don't have a lease agreement," he's like, before the next season starts, that's absolutely something that needs to be addressed, not just with baseball, with soccer, with anybody using the park for organized sports.
Which is every single city, village does.
Correct.
Every single one does. Okay, so we come up, we notice we need a lease agreement. So you approach the Norway Youth Baseball, softball. Is it combined, baseball and softball?
Yes.
Is there two separate? Okay. And you say to them, hey, need you guys to lease the field. And you come up with an or not you, but council, everybody comes up with like a super astronomical price for the lease agreement, right?
Yeah.
So how much did you charge them?
$1.
Yeah. And with inflation, that's a hell of a deal.
Yep.
So you charge them
Actually,
$1.
I'm sorry. That's false information. It's
Oh.
$2.
$2. Oh, double.
It's $1 for the fields, $1 for the buildings.
Oh, gosh.
And it's only $1 because that's the least amount we could
right.
charge them.
And it's because you have to charge them something. That's the whole point of a
Correct.
lease, right? If you look at it, if you understand anything about contracts, which nobody will, right? They just want to bitch about it. That you have to have there has to be some sort of dollar figure, right? It has to be a time frame. There has to
Yep.
be a place of the property, subject matter. Yeah. Anyway. So yes, okay. So we're charging $2, very expensive, and you set out a clear set of guidelines of which the association has to follow. And those are crazy, right? Those are completely you're just asking them to do ridiculous stuff, right?
No.
Yeah,
No.
okay.
And it's not just it's the same agreement across the board.
Yeah.
So the community service club who puts on the ox roast, same agreement.
Same agreement, yeah. Yeah. No, it's tough. Yeah, I get it. And it really was tragic what you guys did. You guys gouged them for money. $2. I don't
They
know.
wouldn't allow me to play baseball when I was a kid. Now they can't either.
If I can't be on the team,
no one can.
I'd like to watch you play. Oh, we played softball. That was actually hilarious.
So you know what's interesting about it too is going on with the misinformation portion is so they've had some turnover in their organization and the new I think she's acting commissioner. She has been great to work with, but it was a lot of the parents that were really
oh, yeah.
doing that.
Yeah. I know. I could see. Yeah. And so I coached 7th and 8th grade soccer for 5 years after high school. And wild. The parents. Just wild.
Yeah.
So luckily, I now understand being a father. I will never be that parent, right? But it's
Right.
and again, I get it. It's emotion. It's we see it on our side of our business. I mean, emotion is killer. And for some reason, the second that any change comes in without even knowing the facts, I mean, just blowing up. So yes, this is the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because nothing changes for the association
Right.
other than they got to pay $2, which that's a hell of a deal. I mean, because when they play night games, who pays that electric bill at McIntyre Field?
You do, technically.
I mean, us.
Yeah, you.
I mean,
technically. don't
yeah.
we'll get to that in a second. Don't
Yeah.
you worry. But yes.
The village and taxpayers.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, and what's funny too, this is what's wild to me, is probably a lot of the parents that are complaining don't even pay tax dollars into the village of Creston, because a lot of them live outside the village because it's Norway Youth Baseball. So when I grew up, played a lot of baseball, we had 2 teams in Sterling, and
Right.
we had the Sterling Field, and that was a separate entity. And then you had Creston, and then you even had Burbank. Burbank had a team too. So you had all these different entities, and now it's one, and they use all not this one, which we have a project going on with this field here, which I don't know if Aaron shared with you.
little
but
bit, yeah.
That's something ongoing, which I dropped the ball recently because one of the families actually just reached back out, and I just haven't had the time to call. So we're going to get that going again. That's exciting, which I want to share that with you. But now it's you have people in Sterling that are using the fields in Creston that are on this Facebook at the town hall complaining, and it's well, hold on a second, peel back the facts, and it's not that big of a deal. We're trying to limit our exposure, and everything's going to stay the same.
I'd like to go on a journey to find out what the actual initial complaint or misinformation was. Who said they're not letting us use these fields anymore because of the insurance thing?
I think the post is still up there, but
Well, not the post, but whoever told that person.
See, I think too with the changeover of leadership there, I don't think they did a really stellar job of communicating with their families and their coaches, and that's part of it. I think,
Well, we're up and running now. Everything's hunky dory, right?
Yep.
Except it's really wet now. I mean,
Right.
So yeah. So sorry that you guys didn't. The lease. Oh god, the lease brought the rain. Yeah. Sorry guys. Yeah. But no, that was definitely a hot topic. And then I know that there's been some other things that you've gone through, right? Like, well, was the last year, the police chief, stuff like that, where it was like, we had to have a vote or whatever it was. So you've been dealt some have hands for sure. But coming out, I think we're in a great spot. I mean, I feel like we are. I like the mindset of the mayor that you have. The mindset, kind of similar to what I'm saying. Like, we talked about that before we went on the air, but let's make the change. Let's be about it. Let's do it.
Right.
Because the mediocre mindset is just killing me. And a lot of times we have conversations. So Aaron and I have conversation where especially about taxes.
Yeah.
As well go on to that one. I'm a huge advocate of I feel like I'm taxed to hell.
Yep.
And especially, don't get me started on the Burbank thing too, but for what do we get? And
right.
And then so our biggest fight that we always have is what do you want me to cut? Like not him personally, but what can we cut? He's like, run for council, and I'm like, well, I would do a complete disservice if I ran for council. First of all, I wouldn't be interested. So I wouldn't give him my all. He loves it, right? He has the mindset. I don't know if anybody. You should write a book because how much this guy loves giving back to the village for. I mean, what you guys get paid 15 cents or something like that. It's wild, but. I just wouldn't be interested in it. I'd rather bitch to him and him represent me or have a discussion about it. So my biggest thing is, and I know I share this sentiment with a lot of people in the village, is all right, so we have the 1% flat tax. My property taxes are super high, which again, I know some of that comes from, it goes to the school district, and I hit it with a 0.75 for the school district, right? So to me, it's what incentive, and you may not have an answer, but what incentive do I have living in the village where my property taxes are substantially higher and I have that 1% income tax and I still have to pay that school district? What is the incentive for me to stay there? I get plowed roads, I guess, right? But I mean,
right.
That's just tough for me, on an outsider perspective. And then you could go look at the budget, right? You could see, I know right now we're in a weird spot federally where it's we're gutting things, we're finding waste, and people are uncomfortable. The economy's uncomfortable, but it's decisions have to be made because where do we draw the line in the sand? And I get that police departments ask for raises or ask for money, and I get that we have rising costs when just like everybody else. But when do we stop? When is that line in the sand? So is that something on your radar? Is that something that you're looking at? Is there something because again, I'm okay with increased property taxes. I like safety. I like my kids to be safe, but I look at other villages or I look at other areas and it's damn, this just seems like a lot. I don't live in that nice of a house. My house is not that big. It's not that nice. It's 3 bedrooms.
Right.
So to me, it's looking at my property tax bill. It's damn. Especially when I see other property taxes at my job. So is that something? I don't know. What do you have to say to that? Let's have a conversation about that because we've already had this.
Right. So all right. So let me go back to the first part of your question. Sure. So what do you get? Ideally, in my mind, what you get is you get resources. So a park that is maybe not the most up to date, but is functional. Yeah. A place that kids and families can be. You have your public safety. Obviously, it's huge, and you have that. You have coverage. That's another hot topic is, you have coverage all the time, so that you can depend on them. Yep. Again, you said the plowed streets.
I want to say something. Yes. I'm not anti-police whatsoever, right? So if I say, I just said, talking about cutting tax, that's not me. But it's
I didn't take it that way, but it's perfect. Interesting you said that, though.
No, because the second because listen, my dad was the fire chief for 25 years, right. And the one thing, and I've talked to him, and he's reached out to my dad a lot. Sorry to interrupt you on your podcast.
No, you're fine.
He's talked to my dad, and it's my dad hung his hat on. He would find every single year a way to not raise the budget whatsoever or lower the budget. And then he would, anytime there was a levy just for a renewal, he would not ask for an increase. He's we need to figure it out, whether it's the association doing fundraising events or whether it's, looking for grants. That's his job as the full-time chief to minimize the budget exposure. So he always would get criticized where it'd be oh, you just don't want the public safeties. He's no, but I'm also a taxpayer. And then at some point, there's got to be a line in the sand where I can't just keep going to the well. Eventually, it's going to be dry.
Right.
So, that's I just know that the second you say cut funding, it's like, oh, you don't label me as that, please.
No, but I think the last several years, we get to the fall where we're talking, appropriations for the next year. It gets very heated,
for sure,
stressful.
It's livelihoods.
Obviously, there's not enough money. I mean, there just isn't.
Right. Which is just
for everything we would love to do.
correct. I 100% agree with that. But it's like at some point, why is there not enough money?
So,
you know what I mean? Like I just
yes.
I know we pay, and he's told me we have water and sewer, which I love our services, but he says basically you just pay monthly to maintain. You're barely paying enough to if we need to upgrade or anything like that. So there's an expenditure, and it's a big one. Does that, I don't know. To me, it's do we find where you charge me as a consumption and maybe lower required payments, right? I don't know.
So there's a lot of things to unpack here. So water-wise, I mean, we haven't had a water study in a long time, which usually determines our rates, or a rate study, they call it. That's something that we need to think about doing. We've talked about it for a couple of years for that very reason, because now, I can't remember when the water and sewer plant, what year that was, but, we need to start thinking about the future, obviously. So there's that piece. But going back to the budget in general, I think this last fall we made some headway as far as where everyone stands and what the expectations are for this year, for this fall. And, cutting the budget and trying to find ways to be more efficient, again, that's what I'm interested in doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've got 6 guys on council that are very, they put the village first. And it's been a while, I think, since we've had a council like that as well, that thought like that.
Yeah.
And so, I will speak to the police department specifically because you're such a fan.
I am a fan of the police department.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm just again, when we ask for more money after just my property taxes went up $1,000 because of the police levies. Literally, I mean, it did over, and it's there's a lot of houses in the village that are. I'm not saying everybody's went up $1,000, but then it's okay, well then we ask for more in the budget, and I get that we have to ask for it, but then if we don't have it, then when it comes out of the general fund, I understand that part of it, but it's I don't know. I told him, I'm as I voted for you as my elected official representative, I want you to say no and draw a line in the sand at some point. But I heard there was compromises, which I appreciate as a taxpayer. But yeah, I don't know, and I am naive. I'm not there at council meetings. I'm not on council. I didn't run for council, but because I can't put my heart and soul into it. But at some point, it's it just doesn't make sense to me being on the outside, where it's there should be plenty of money coming in for the services we have and services we don't have currently. Right.
So as far as the police department specifically, I've been diving into that with everything that has taken place leadership-wise.
Sure.
I've been and our discussions in the fall about appropriations and knowing where those guys stand. My outlook is back to basics with everything, but specifically the police department right now has a lot of my attention because of the transitions we're going through. And so you're going to see things like, we're tightening up our fleet of vehicles. We're talking about not hiring as many people and changing shifts. So that way we're using officer hours more efficiently. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at to decrease that general fund transfer.
Okay, I do like that because, and again, we talk about it sometimes a mindset of when you work for a government, right? Even if it's the village, it's I need this. But on the private sector side, if I need it, I have to generate it.
Right.
If I go to my boss and say I need a new chair, they say shut up, it's fine, right? But
Right.
so it's just a different mindset where it's like I need, or I want in the public side, and it's like you guys receive the pressure of like, well, if I don't do this, they're gonna go somewhere else, or they're gonna go on the town hall and complain about it anonymously, right? So it's like you guys have the hardest job, but like again, like it's I love to hear that. That actually makes me feel, as a taxpayer, as somebody in the village, I love to hear that, because again, I don't want to cut the funding, but looking at it, it's like, damn,
Yeah.
we only have how many people in the village? 2,000?
2,200.
2,100. We have 2,100 people, but the amount that my property taxes just went up for the police department alone, it's like, well, shit, it just doesn't add up to me a little bit.
And I'll
Right.
go a step beyond the police department too. It's like there are of course the unexpected expenditures.
Oh, 100%.
And it's like, so an apartment can bring in so much, and then there can be so much saved up in the general fund. But if you have to shell out, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to paint a water tower, or to pave a whole new parking lot or something like that, then that takes away from everyone else.
Sure.
So we this last year at the end of 2024, council did go through line by line of the transfers for 2025, of the appropriations for 2025. And there was a couple of projects that that the departments wanted to do for the community. I'll just use the community center, for example. They want to do that, but we're like, well, that's okay. That's like $3,000 there we can cut. That's like $2,000 there we can cut. So we kind of, again, we gouged it.
Yeah.
We slashed it because, like $2,000 here saves us $2,000 there. So, but what ended up happening is that they came out, we're here in, February, March of 2025, and what did they need? They needed that $2,000 anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's
I get
six
that.
one way, half a dozen the other. So it's like, if you want to maintain that, unexpected things are going to happen. The department heads know, we as council rely on them to give us that. But it's like last year showed us that we can actually, or we should be actually like questioning what is the wants versus needs type thing.
Do you have like, can we keep rolling with this? Like,
Sure.
Is your like, do we have to cut? We normally do like an hour, but I'm not even like halfway in the
No, we
second
can
part.
go. We can
Good?
keep going.
Okay.
We've only been doing it for about 40 minutes.
44 minutes. Yeah. So, okay. All right, cool. Because so in business, right, if you have a deficit, or if you're, running in the red, and there's two things, right? You increase revenue or you decrease expenses. What is the other revenue that the village could increase? Like, I have some ideas. Like, don't raise taxes. So that I'm raising them. We'll get in like arguments.
Just
or, like,
for you.
He's like, I'm raising your taxes. So what other revenue streams can the village look at? Because I have some ideas, being in the lending side. I actually have some pretty good conversations lately with some developers that are very interested in a certain part of land in the village, which I'm helping try to kind of keeping it close to the vest here, but trying to help. Is that like a revenue stream where we can bring in other house, like a development? Because we max out open enrollment every year at the school, right? So people want to live here. I know.
Yes, absolutely.
I know I could post about my house on Facebook and be sold within 5 minutes.
Yep.
So people want to move in here. Is that a revenue stream we could look at?
Absolutely.
Is it something actively that, maybe I should be more helpful with the council in bringing that?
I speaking for myself, I'm completely open to that. I don't know how the other council, some of them will be concerned about, overwhelming our resources and stuff like that,
Right.
which obviously, that's something we would look into before making a decision.
Which I know the developer, that I'm talking with, like he would. We'll definitely have to connect with you, because he has some really cool ideas that he's learned from the state that gives us bond program. It's awesome.
Okay.
So for public utilities that the
Yeah.
developer does, and then the state could utilize, or I'm sorry, the village utilizes, he utilizes, and the state could, it's awesome. He explained it to me, and I'm like, wait, say that one more time. I was like so confused. But okay, so like obviously encouraging developers to come in. What about businesses? Like, so that's got to be a big one, right?
Yeah.
And do we have spots to go? I know White Feather just moved their headquarters.
That's part of the
in.
challenge, I think, as I see it, because you have, there are some spots, like, for instance, downtown that aren't really operating as businesses.
Houses. with-
Yeah.
well,
And then you have, we have a very little land that could be developed.
Yeah.
And so it's, we're not, everybody likes to compare us to Seville. We're not Seville. We don't have industry.
Which they annexed in.
It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, 100% is. Yeah, 100%. Which they annexed that in on purpose, right? Like, because that wasn't, I thought the village stopped almost at Greenwich, right? Like,
I feel like that was something that happened when I was young. Yes.
Yeah, and then they started annexing that in. Yeah, so that's...
Well, and then annexing it, people will ask, why don't we annex in XYZ? It's incredibly difficult to annex a property. You can't just do it.
Yeah, 100%. Right.
And yeah, to your point, it's like, no one, like, just on the outskirts is going to want to come in. Yeah. And then, with, like, attracting businesses, like, we've tried. It's like, it's one of those things where, who wants to move to Creston? What's the pull besides the schools? Oh, we don't have a pizza place. We don't have, this, we don't have that. So it's like you reach out to those businesses and try to get them in here, but then they say the exact same thing. We're gonna spend money to set up a business in a village of 2,100 people.
Well, what is the pull about Creston? You guys are the representatives of it.
We say that this is kind of the business that I've talked to have been, one of those, like, if you build it, they will come type things. And plus you have access to Seville, Medina, Lodi. You're right on Route 3 there. And you have no competition here.
That's a big thing.
It's like your business will flourish. And it's like someone, we'll look into it. So I've tried pharmacies, fast food places, grocery stores. The best thing we've gotten in the last decade or 15 years has been Dollar General.
Right.
Yeah, well, sure. The Mall of Creston.
The Mall of Creston. Yeah. But it's like, even like fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Taco Bell, things like that. It's like the answers I've gotten from like Taco Bell have been like, well, they have things here now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like they've done a study where there's not enough traffic for them to build a franchise.
We did a traffic study. 8,700 cars go through a day. Right here.
Yeah.
So Route 3 has to be similar, I would think. But okay. Well, so I guess my question to you guys would then be like, well, what would be, and it's rhetorical, as a business owner, what would be the pain point, right? Because like you're supposed to sell solutions to a problem, not your product, right? Mm-hmm. So what solutions could we offer, or what problems maybe people have? Because like to me, like we have a school right there, which has a bunch of kids that when they turn 18, a lot of them aren't going to college, all right, and they're looking to go in the industry, right? So, like, could that be a selling point? We have great schools, right? Everybody knows that we have great schools. So, man, don't get me started on that. But we have great schools, so that should mean great students are graduating. So, is there a pool for that? I don't know. It seems like,
that's
to
an
me,
interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, I would love to know the statistic of how many kids actually go to college. And we just look at people we graduated with. Now, granted, that was damn near, 16 years ago, 17 years ago.
But largest graduating class in Norway.
You guys are babies.
Yeah, we are the largest graduating class out of Norway as well. Like 118, I think. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But looking at people we graduate with, a lot of them went to work in Orville, went to work in Worcester, went to,
just join the workforce.
Industry, right? But the nice part is like, I feel like Orville did a really good job. I'm not comparing us to Orville whatsoever, but they did a really good job of where, like, I mean, Orville used to be kind of not the nice, right? I remember going to Ming Hing's, rest in the buffet. But I remember it not being great. There wasn't like very nice homes. It was industry, and Smuckers invested. Obviously, we're not going to get Smuckers. That'd be kind of cool, right? But now all of a sudden they started building, like developers came in, right? And developers put in bigger houses, and that way people that worked at Smuckers, and then they could live there, they could buy those houses, then they revamped downtown. Now industry, stores came in. So it's like, would it be the increased revenue stream of a developer and a big business that maybe hires 100, 150 employees? It's like, hey, we're going to put in $350,000 houses, and would that entice you to move industry here into the village? Absolutely. So I mean, that would be maybe that. So now we know there's a need for school, or we open enroll. Everybody wants to come here. So that solves an issue with the developer. And then you have if we open up industry in Creston, where are they going to live? Well, then, maybe. Yeah.
It's a domino effect. You got the residents, you got the business, more schools. What do more schools need then? More teachers. What do people want that live and work here need? They need food, they need groceries, they need pharmacy. So it's like, it's a domino effect. And You just need that initial kick to get. I think it does start with residential, and that's what we've been looking into for.
Housing always drives the economy, and I'm not trying to sound, like, but it does. It really does. Housing and oil. I'll sit here and tell you for an hour about that, but I feel like that might be the step forward if we have housing here, and then also too, I'm sick of people bitching and complaining, but then we open up businesses outside the village, right? That doesn't help, right? We have. You can't complain about the village if you're not willing to interact with the village.
Well, don't get me started on the whole BS village map of like how it strategically goes around
crazy.
businesses. And it's now don't get me wrong, from a business perspective, I understand why businesses want it to be like that. But now from village, what's best for the village perspective. Those deals that were made to make those lines just so perfectly around those.
I mean, I would do the same thing.
No, I would do it as a businessman, but not. Now it's like, and then those people. It's like they don't realize that those businesses are not in the village, but at the same time they reap a lot of the village benefits.
And you could
resources.
I think it goes back to even what's happening federally, which again, people are going to assume my political affiliation. I always tell them they're completely wrong, but there's got to be pain on somebody's side to make it better, right? Choose your hard. I say that all the time. There has to be a hard for you to progress. And I feel like for the village, it's going to take a business. And I'm a big supporter of like the White Feather family and so the Perkins family. And I love that they brought their headquarters to the village, right? They were like, open up across the street and they're bringing jobs here. That's awesome. They could have went somewhere else. They could have left it outside the village and they chose directly to impact their community. And so it's going to take other businesses to do that. And it's cool to see the garage door company. Their rapid expansion. That's great. I love to see it. My dad used to own the restaurant there, and that's whatever it is now.
I used to eat the hot spots there.
Yeah, I still got the recipe. I was telling you. I got them, yeah. People ask, you got the recipe? I'm like, I do, absolutely. Actually, fun fact, we'll talk about that for a second. My dad used to, before he bought that, he was a traveling salesman, and he would go to this restaurant in Toledo called Jed's. And that's where he took the recipe. He got the recipe from the owner of Jed's, right? So fast forward to last year, 2 years ago. So we have like a lot of community banks that wholesale through us, and one of them is like Western Ohio. And so we're out there, and we go to this restaurant called Frickers, and I'm getting the boneless wings. I'm eating them. I'm like, the hell? And then I'm like texting my dad. I'm like, look at these. And apparently Jed's went out of business, got bought out by Frickers, and Frickers now has the recipe for hot spots. I was like, these taste like, I'll make them, but I won't tell you how to.
Yes.
Won't tell you. I can make them, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, well, my dad and I argue about actually the ingredients of it, but I proved them wrong.
Oh, man. When I saw your dad at your guys' fundraiser last year, I was like, hot spots.
Yeah. We talked about it.
It's good to see you, but also...
We even talked about that with the community center, like doing like a pop-up restaurant night, like once a month, right? You rent it out and then get the liquor license that we get for the fundraiser, just have one night, police officer on duty, do it as like a fundraiser towards something. So we did talk about that, but we have a lot of ideas, but no, so good to hear that. Is there any other revenue streams that you guys can think of that we could explore? Because obviously, like I said, increase revenue or decrease expenses. And if we are at the bare minimum for expenses, which what's what we've always said, there's nothing else to cut. What can we do other than raise taxes?
So a couple things. We're always looking for grants, always. Yeah. And so whenever we get the opportunity to do that, obviously we apply for those. You can't count on those.
Right. And they could dry up next year. And
Right. But as far as, you mentioned fundraising. So we have kicked around the idea of having a nonprofit that benefits, the park or benefit.
Big supporter of that.
But the village can't raise money for itself.
Correct.
Correct.
The same way. So the fire department can't raise money. Correct. The association can then donate the money.
Correct.
Back, right. So I would be a big advocate and help spearhead that, by the way, if that would be something.
Well, and I think kind of like what, going back to what you said with your dad too, and I think this is going to be very beneficial with our current, I'll pick on the police department, the police officers. I think they understand that now. Our current officers understand that. They're going to have to be more public driven, their presence and everything. So if they want money, they're going to have to also help raise the money themselves.
I mean,
too.
we are your customers.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like, unfortunately, you have to go out and account manage. If I don't talk to my customers ever, I mean, that's where the revenue is coming from.
Right.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I hate to compare government to the private sector, but I mean, if you,
Dealing with money, it's all
It's-
I
financial.
mean, it's the mindset. If
But
you,
I'm right there with you because I come from a marketing standpoint, and
Yeah.
so a lot of things that I look at, I think we need a rebrand, so to speak. The village does.
I agree with that.
And, if that means that, our it's the police department, or if it's, beautification of downtown, a new logo, all those things to make it seem like, not seem, but bring together a cohesive, this is Creston.
We're not just surviving till tomorrow.
And it's a great thing.
yeah.
It's a great thing that
Yeah.
we're from Creston. So going back to you mentioned like the fire department has the association. So our police department doesn't have anything like that in place. So that is something that was talked about actually last year before Chief Meshi's accident. And that kind of derailed things. But is a conversation that's happening this year again.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's good.
specifically for them.
Yeah.
But also there's been talk about, an association for the park.
Yeah. So one thing, and I didn't even talk to Aaron about this, but this is a little off topic, but we'll talk about it. So I played tennis. Actually, started the tennis team at Norway in 2005. My dad only wanted me to play baseball, and I was going through my little rebellious stage. I'm like, okay, guess what? I'm gonna play tennis. I'm gonna start a tennis team in a farm school, right? They still have it, I believe. They still have the tennis team. I would love, and I know there was some talk about it, about getting courts and pickleball courts, because I think pickleball is the future. Aaron can't play ping pong, but he can play pickleball. Make that make sense, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? It's so easy to play. It's so much fun. And I would love to help, and I talked with Aaron about a grant. And I know you might know some of this, and about like USTA does grants for for tennis courts, and especially in communities that do not have. They would love our case of having a tennis program for damn near 20 years and having to drive to Rittman to go play.
Right.
Not even matches. Like, so every away match we went to or every match we had was away. And you can't be in a league because we don't have home courts. So we would play like Canton schools. We'd play East Cleveland. Like, we would be on the bus for like an hour and 50. It was the worst. And I get motion sickness. So when I was coaching, it was the worst thing in the world. But long story short, we do have an awesome park. I don't think people realize, number one, how big it is. Number two, how easy it is to navigate through. You have everything there. You could use it for pennies on the dollar as a citizen. Citizen. What are we called?
Resident.
Resident. That's better. Yeah. That's better.
Civilian.
Civilian. Peon. Keep going. But anyway, so I would love to be a part of the parks. Any sort of association. But I would also love nothing more than to try to help get courts and pickleball courts in the village of Creston. That would be something I would be very passionate about. Not just because it'd be nice to drive a minute down the road to go play tennis instead of driving to Worcester, but
Right.
Also what it would benefit like the school. And I know that there's like students trying to do they want pickleball courts because now they're starting pickleball teams at school. So I would love to have those at the court or at the park. So if that is something, I know we talked about trying to do a big fundraiser. That would be something like if we could get the village behind, like, yes, this is something we want to put in. I know it's like, I obviously just talked about like money, but if we could, there's a good chance I feel like we could raise all the funds very close to raising it where it wouldn't cost the taxpayers anything. And the maintenance on those are nothing throughout. I mean, it's very minimal throughout the years. So that would be something I would love, and just bring stuff like that that's changing to the park, right? Like, because it's an awesome park. So what plans do you guys do you have for the park? Is it just maintaining, or is that something like we want to kind of add some stuff to it?
Absolutely. In the perfect world, I have all kinds of plans of things.
Yeah.
I want the park to have a little something for everybody. You know, if you're not athletic and you're just there to walk, right?
The walking trails are awesome, man.
Yeah.
So
So there are things
Don't
that
get me
we're
started
working on right now that we do have funding for. We got some incredible donations from the Stebbins Foundation and from the Community Service Club. And so that's helping us make improvements to our play structure.
Love it.
And redoing our current walking paths. And we think there might be a little bit left over to where we can actually put in another walking path to extend what's currently there.
Okay.
As far as, you know, of course, there's wish list items, right?
Yeah.
And
I love it. I love wish list items
Yeah.
from a public official. I love it because it's okay. Go. Keep going.
so, you know, I'm a dog park fan through and through. So I know that has a huge draw. So that's one thing for me that I would love to see come to the park. We also have, it's been brought up, you know, splash pad or which, you know, I don't know if that's possible for us. I don't know.
Might be a little expensive. Might be liability wise. Yeah,
Right.
something like that. Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to that idea. If we have the money, I'm not opposed to that idea.
But if we
at
have an
all.
association, then we could start doing
Right.
fundraisers, and
Right.
it's like a political action committee for local government, right?
Right.
So if I want to see, that's what I'm trying to say. Like if I want tennis courts there, I don't want the village to pay for them. I want to be able to raise the money and let's get let's have those there. If you want a
Right.
dog park, like all right, well here's the association. Like be active with
Yep.
it.
Well, that lies the obstacle. You said yourself you would do that because you're passionate about it. Finding people with that passionate commitment is extremely hard.
Are you sure? Because we
No,
have,
it is. Yeah,
we have a
because-
town hall of very passionate
Yeah.
people on Facebook.
Yeah, that's the key
Yeah.
word there on
Okay,
Facebook.
Well, good news is
It's-
that we have clips now, and we will post it.
Yeah,
And
no, on Facebook they're very passionate. And now, don't get me wrong, the volunteers that we have now are phenomenal. They dedicate their time and their efforts to like these events that we currently have, and they're great. But the issue is, it's like for people to continuously do that, it's a very hard battle to keep them interested. We had like the council had to disband or do something. We had to get rid of the Board of Public Affairs that was in charge of like the water and sewer billing. We had to get rid of that because literally no one wanted to fill those open vacancies roles.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with, a lot of, there's very similar stories to other committees and stuff like that. Just not enough people had physical interest. That sounds naughty, but it's not. But it's like, no, they can post on Facebook and have ideas, which is great. We can take those and run with them. But like Brenda said, there's only 6 council members. She's only one person.
Oh, yeah, 100%,
It's like, and
yeah.
then when you send the bat signal for volunteers and stuff like that, and I'm not discrediting the people that do call, that do come in because they're great. We got church
just need
groups, we
more.
got
We
everything.
just need more.
We just need more.
And it goes just like, and we're not the only ones. I was president of the Seville Chamber for 6 years. I think you find in any organization, it's the same handful of people that are doing most of the work.
Yep.
Yeah, and I totally get that. And I think it may even go back to what I was saying, like, what are the problems? Like, who could we target? Myself would be one. I want tennis courts real bad, right? So I have children that are going to live in the district, and they're going to probably live in the village and forever. And not forever. They better, at 18, they got to get the hell out. But that I would love to take them to the park. Like, they're going to benefit from the park. So it would be somebody that would want to help with that. There's got to be other people, like finding the people. What's their pain point? There's other people with pain points. So obviously you have the baseball people, very passionate about it, right? And now we have this, and we have this exposure. We can make the clips or whatever. And now you post it on Facebook, like, hey, make a difference, help us.
Oh yeah, you can go ahead, Brandon.
But now we
go
have
ahead.
that, like, now we have that. We have this. We have the video, so that goes back. Like, go ahead and you come with your point, because I have something else that I would.
Well, I was just going to
bring up
say,
to
you brought up baseball again, and I want to give them some credit too, because, their association has made those baseball fields what they are.
Oh, yeah.
They have put a lot of money and effort into those,
Absolutely. Yes.
which is something the village would have never been able to
Correct.
do. So I do want to give them credit. where credit's due.
They need to take like into consideration when they're beautifying them this year to subtract off $2 worth of labor. So maybe don't pick up that piece of trash, right? Get their money back, right?
But they're a great example of what can be done if a group of people comes together.
You're passionate about it, right?
Yep.
And so then perfect. It's a baseball association. That's what people don't realize. Like that is the association just to handle baseball
Correct.
at the park and the fields. So we could have a park association, and and we're not asking for you guys to come to bi-weekly meetings, right? Everything now can be done over a group text, right? Well, I mean, okay, yes, you have to show up in person. But what I'm saying is like for people that are frustrated or people that like want the park to be better, then let's get involved and have an association.
Again, yes, I hope people do, but it's the same thing. It's like you go on, town halls and you look at the comments section. Hey, we have a park cleanup day. No one shows up.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we have
But it also goes back to when we host events in the private sector. Do we just post it on social media and hope people show up? No, we bug the shit out of them.
But then it goes like, okay, whose responsibility is it to get these people
Correct.
there?
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like if they're passionate enough or if they're angry enough about something, I would say it's their responsibility to look on how to offer those solutions.
What's my favorite quote, Aaron? Do you remember my favorite quote?
Don't put it in.
Is there cheese? We were so serious all the time. You gonna eat that? That's actually not. No. So Winston Churchill said, "I like to make things happen, and if they don't happen, I like to make them happen." Right? I've lived that like my whole life. So it's like, okay, I'm sitting here telling you, I would absolutely help with the association with the park, and it's finding other people like that. And I feel like it's okay. Maybe that's the way I can serve the village is not be on council, but it's that. And there are other people like that. I feel that maybe the mindset, again, this is coming from a citizen, coming from a peon. I don't have the time to be on a committee. I don't have the time to do that. I got to take my kids to soccer practice. I got to take my kids to do this. I got to go to work. I think that's in the mindset of the villagers. Maybe, can we show them the ease of that? We don't need that kind of commitment. I don't need you to show up every Monday to council. I don't need you.
We need your help. Here's what exactly
This
what
is
that
what we
means,
need, right?
and it looks like.
Okay, and this is bringing me to my next point, and then we'll try to wrap it up because I been talking for an hour and 10 minutes now. This has been great though. I've actually loved this. What about broadcasting and setting up? Does the village have something where they could set up and just live stream council meetings and post it directly on Facebook?
So it's funny you bring that up. I was just researching equipment to do that because I think that I went and spoke at the Lions Club a couple weeks ago, and they were saying, we saw on the community chat someone was videoing while they were at the council meeting, and he said, I thought that was really cool because I don't have to be there, and obviously during COVID we had Zoom meetings and it was open to the public. So it's not that much of a stretch to think that we could actually, live stream or
probably $1,500 it could be
or whatever.
Maybe even less than that actually.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad you're bringing that up. So I think that would go a long way.
Yeah.
And even just creating clips. So we pay $19 a month for a software that uses AI to make clips for us of our podcasts. So I don't make those, by the way, sorry. But I just upload it and it tells me which ones are going to be trending, which you can even type in like, hey, I want a 60-second clip where we talked about, whatever the water bills, something, right? And it does it. And then you could give highlights. And it's almost like have the Village of Creston Facebook page, start just posting them, kind of like how we do, right? Where it's throughout the week, and here's your clips of what happened. Because I think that is an issue, and it's not on you. It's not on you guys, but it's the lack of information that comes out. I don't have time to go to a council meeting, right? Typically, a villager, a peon, a resident is going to go to council when they have an issue, and
Absolutely.
I don't want that's already too late for you guys, right? So you guys are already like you're behind the eight ball. They're already pissed off. They're already mad. They're coming with data. You're going to be blindsided, and then you're going to have to say, "We'll get back to you," right? And that causes them to be more frustrated. So I feel like if we had the ability to watch the clips, right, of here's a 5-minute video of what happened, what we talked about in council. Watch Aaron yawn. Then that would be. I think then people would start seeing, because it goes back to even us on the mortgage side. I started doing this content just to create social proof. People had no idea who I was. Right? And now they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you like Limp Bizkit. I'm like, oh yeah, and we talked about it in the podcast, right?
So this is interesting. I just had a conversation yesterday with somebody. it's a fine line, I think, in my role to be, the transparent, but also not. What do I want to say? How do I want to phrase this?
Well, you have to be transparent, but you can't share everything, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you can't. You
And-
legally can't, and it's
Right.
not in the best interest.
Correct. And so I'm still navigating that line.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got, as obviously with experience, you get a little bit better with that. But, I'm an oversharer by nature.
Yeah.
And so to me, when I did that baseball video, I went into detail. That's why it was so long. But I felt like,
ADHD, I just
but I felt like,
you needed to.
all right, if we're sharing, I'm going to share.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would do that. I would literally probably do that with everything. But I wonder, like, how much is too much?
Well, there's a fine line with that because we talked about this. Try not to sound like a broken record, but yeah, if you advertise too much, then you're just a commercial, right?
Yeah.
You tune off commercials. So it is a fine line of balancing between, but also at the same time, I think that gives the transparency, all right? And also now all of a sudden you have 2,000 people that can listen to what happened at council on Monday, as opposed to they had no idea about it before, right?
Right.
Like, I don't even know what you guys talk about, and I'm sitting here having a podcast with the mayor, and I'm trying to pretend like I know what's going on. Now I do have
It's all very, very interesting.
yeah, I'm sure it's real interesting, right? But that's what I mean. So like if you have but the interesting stuff, or like the 10 minutes where we talk about the lease on the baseball fields.
Yeah.
A whole uprising could have been like avoided just by, I don't know if it still would have been, but then it's like, hey, I got the receipt. Check out this video.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like if that might be something that would then start catching people's attention, and then they want to help. They want to get involved. Hey, oh wait, really? We only have to, like, if I want the park to be better, you only need me for one day a month. Yeah, that's it, right? Help me do a fundraiser. Help me, get involved this way. The fundraisers that we've done, it's crazy because we have it down to a science now. We don't do that much work. It's crazy for how much money we've raised for like local organizations, and we don't do that much work. I feel like sometimes people think it's like way too daunting of a task. It's going to take up too much time, when in all reality it just doesn't. Just need a little bit of effort. And if I can get that once a month from you, then our park could have tennis courts, our park could have a dog park, our park could have a splash pad, our park, then yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. Right. If I could give 12 days out of the year, maybe a little bit more, a couple hours out of those days to help, and I don't have to pay more in taxes, hell yeah, I'm all
Right.
about it. So it would go back to, if we have that transparency, if we have that video on that you could post on social media, I feel like that would go a long way.
Yeah.
And if it's about a money thing, like, it's really, you don't even need that nice of a camera. And the biggest thing is obviously the mics. That's what we've learned. But showing, to live stream, you just plug it in. Now, it doesn't have to go back and forth. That one does follow the people could follow the people that are talking, but yeah, you don't need to be
Yeah.
That's what we've learned. We don't need to completely understand video production to do it. Like,
Right.
I didn't go to media school to learn how to do this. It was very painful. That's what we talked about before the show, but learning how to do this. But I feel like that would go a long way, especially with
I
helping
agree.
people get involved. So, and alleviate a lot of your guys' problems. I mean, like, a lot of upset people, right? Like,
Right.
coming to council, and they're like,
Right.
well, yeah, we just talked about this. Or like, now they can, have a conversation with you, instead of being like, my kid plays baseball and you
Poor
assholes."
baseball.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to be like, what the heck?
Well, that was, but for people that didn't like,
It's a
that are
trending
not-
topic.
this is definitely like a podcast that is designed just for people in our area, which is fine. But
Right.
but no, it also gives insight to like local government, so, which is super important. Stop giving a shit who the president is. He does not affect your life unless
Yeah.
you're in the stock market. Sorry, he literally doesn't affect your life.
Right.
Start caring about your local elections. You should really care who your sheriff is, by the way. That's always interesting, but nobody even knows who our sheriff is. I bet.
Tom
You-
Ballinger.
of course you know, but everybody listening, like, oh, the guy that pulled me over on Route 3 going 68. Like, yeah, bro, that's not the sheriff, but all right. Well, anyway, so anything else you want to say before we kind of wrap it up? But this was great.
I think that a good message to everybody is, we're the government. just because we're local, we're still government, so everything's slow to happen. I mean, it just is. There's a process to everything we do. So when we get a suggestion or a concern or a complaint, just because it's not addressed immediately, it does not mean it's not being addressed.
It's called checks and balances for a reason.
Right. There's a process. That's, I think, important for everybody to know. And, you can make a huge difference on the local level. If you think something can be better and, you can come to us with a solution, we want to hear that. All of us, all the councilmen and myself, the fiscal officer, the police chief, our village administrator, these are all people that are open to conversation all the time. So if there's something going on, don't wait until it's a big issue or you're upset. Come have a conversation with us, and we want to hear those things.
Yeah. That's or if you're pissing and moaning about how slow it is, join a committee or join the association and help. But we'll solve it quick because it's not part of the government. We could just donate in. So if you want to make a change, if you're frustrated, put your money where your mouth is and give a little bit of time. It's not that hard. Yeah, I just couldn't be you guys. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And I don't like the idea of Aaron and I have talked about this, and that's why it's so refreshing to have you here talking. It's like I hate the idea of if you want it, run for council. This is where it is. No, and then I also hate I'm a taxpayer. You're supposed to represent me. No, we're humans. You are not just the mayor, right? You have a life outside of it. Guess what? The mayor of Creston is unfortunately not a full-time job. Yeah. You can't survive.
Right.
You can't survive, right? So you have a life outside of this, right? You are Brenda. So you're a person. Go and have a conversation or go and help instead of bitching. Jeez, man. I mean, I like to bitch. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, anyway, so all right. Well, thanks so much for coming in. Aaron, Your Excellency, would you like to say anything, Mr. Councilman?
No, yeah. Thank you, Mike. We loved having you on. It's been great.
I'm just I'm having a conversation. That's right. You're supposed to listen to my grievances. Well, no, thanks for coming. And so you're planning on running for a second term?
That's the plan.
Oh, soundbite.
Yeah, there it is. That's your official.
Oh, no, it's official.
Brenda, that's the plan, Norris.
It's on the record.
She's coming down the escalator. Doing the YMCA dance, right? Yeah. Well, no, thanks so much. It's refreshing to hear
thank
that
you.
this was, the mayor has that mindset. So we just got to get the councilmen, to stop being.
They're pretty great. One more thing. I'll say one more thing too is. I said this at our employee Christmas party, but obviously the public's not there for that. But I'll kind of say it again. I mean, this group of councilmen and our department heads, they really make my job much easier. They make me look good. We in the grand scheme of things, we don't have a lot of stuff that's a problem. And that's thanks to them. I mean, we have a really great working relationship, and I think we're all like-minded to a point. And so, So,
wow,
my success is definitely
that was her Christmas present to you.
Yeah, it was.
Due to them. So so I've said it publicly now.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That's a great mindset to have because, like we talked about at the beginning, it's got to be cohesion.
No, and council, just like what Brenda says, I can't speak for all the council, but it's what I've gathered so far is that we all recognize that we're on the same team, and there's a lot, there is growing pains of learning, how processes work, what you should or shouldn't say, should or shouldn't do. But I think that we're all able to work together with the mayor, with the department heads, and with each other to we don't have to agree on absolutely everything.
Right.
We don't have to, and we don't. But
shouldn't.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's we can collaborate and compromise on best things moving forward for the village.
No, that's good to hear. What was it? I don't know if it's actually true, but wasn't it in World War Z where they say that there's a term that the state of Israel has where it's if everybody agrees on something, there has to be one person.
10th man rule.
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah, one person absolutely has to disagree with it.
No matter how
off the wall it is. Yeah. And that way you present both sides. So it's good. There should be conversations like that. And
absolutely.
I think our political climate, we just tend to jump down on the other side, and it even happens locally. That's
Yep.
and maybe it wasn't COVID where I talked about that earlier. Maybe it was the political climate that we have on the federal level where it's like, no, you're wrong, I'm right, I'm going to belittle you and berate you instead of having the conversation. So, which is good. It's what we're supposed to have. So I'm glad to hear. Well, anyway, can't wait for the Taco Bell going in. That's all I took from this whole podcast. Aaron's trying to get Taco Bell in here.
No pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, that is definitely going to benefit like us. Like,
It'll-
I mean, we would look at it.
It'll be a stand with me selling tacos.
That's not it.
Hey, Taco Bell.
I don't hate it.
A little food truck action.
No, I'm just thinking like a lemonade stand with tacos.
Oh,
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy
Oh,
it.
that's just
No, I'm not interested anymore. Unreal, dude.